Hello and welcome to another video. In this one, we're going to be talking about one of my least favorite programming languages. But unfortunately it comes up a lot and it's kind of necessary to know this particular thing about Bash. So we're going to be talking about working with conditional arguments today. And this is a thing that I see people mess up a lot of the time. So let's, without further ado, jump into this. Okay, so I'm going to show you the wrong way to do this first, and I'm going to show you kind of the basics of how I write bash scripts, and then we're going to fix it. So let's make a bash script. So let's do babby t.sh. We're going to start with a shebang here. This is going to make it executable. Did I do a video about this? I think I did a video about this. If not... well, if I did make a video, there will be a link in the description. If I didn't make a video, I'll make one in the future about these. But I usually start every bash script with the same set of commands, which is this shebang here, so that it's executable from the command line. And I use set-euo pipefail, and this enables a some people refer to this as a strict mode for bash, but this does a couple of things. -e makes it so any command that exits non-zero will terminate the process. -u sets bash into a mode where if you use an undefined variable, it will crash. And o-pipefail means that if a command in the middle of a piped sequence fails, the entire pipe will fail instead of just the last command. We're actually going to add another letter in here, X, today. This is going to show every command as it runs. If you were to do these separately, this is just a shorthand for doing set-e, set-x, or set-u, set-x, set-o, pipefail. But you can do this all in one line, so I tend to do it that way. And we're going to show kind of the wrong way to read conditional arguments from a command line. So we're going to make an if statement here, and honestly, if I ever write an if statement in Bash, it's usually a good idea to stop writing Bash and switch to a different scripting language that's a little bit easier to understand. So usually if I see, if or for in a Bash script, I will think strongly about rewriting it in Python or some other language. But we're going to do just a simple test here. I say simple, but I do have to explain what's going on here. So in Bash, and actually, in SH as well, the left square bracket is a shell built in, and it's how conditionals are implemented. There's also a executable named the backslash. As you can see, bin backslash is a full executable, and it's actually an alias to an executable called test. So if you want to know about all of the expressions that can go into this left bracket thing, you could do man test, and that'll bring up the manual page for test. We're going to be using -n today, which says, check whether the length of the string is non-zero, and so that's what we're doing here. So if name is non-zero, then we want to add some argument here. So let's just use arg, for example. --foo equals $name, or maybe let's do a name. But in the case where name is not defined, we want to not have that argument. And so this is kind of the wrong way to do this. And we're actually going to use Python to show the arguments here, but you could imagine a program where you're taking arguments and then passing them on to another program. One common use case that I see for this, and that I've used myself before, is... what is the one with TTY? I use this pretty often to decide whether to pass -ti to Docker, for example. But we're just going to use Python to show the arguments that we're passing to the script. Import sys print sys.argv1:, and we're going to pass $arg here. Now note that I didn't quote this, and that's actually part of the bug here, and if you're using a linter for Bash, it will usually point out that this is a problem. But with this script, let's show that it kind of works for what we want. Side background of that, we didn't want that. So if I run name equals Anthony, and this, we forgot to chmod +x this so that we can actually run it. If we do name equals Anthony and do t.sh, you'll see this plus output is from set-x, so that's showing each statement as it runs. But at the end, we get a single argument that's name equals Anthony. If we pass name as the empty string, you'll see that we don't get any arguments at all. So we don't even get an empty string argument. Now, if I quoted this, we would get an empty string as an argument, which we don't want here. We want this argument to only be passed if name is set. So that's why we didn't quote this here. However, this presents a problem. If your name contains any spaces, it will get splatted into two arguments. So let's say I filled out my full name in this name variable here. You'll see that this argument actually got split into two arguments, which we didn't want. We want this to be forwarded along as a single argument. And that's where this, common pitfall comes into play. And so now let's talk about how we would fix this. And the fix for this is to use arrays in Bash. And again, if you're reaching for arrays or loops or if statements or other complicated logic in Bash, it's probably a good idea that you rewrite your script in some other scripting language, because Bash, is not the most maintainable, has quite a few pitfalls, but I'm going to show you how you do it correctly anyway. So the way you would do this is you would make an Args array, and the way you make an array in Bash, or one of the ways you can make an array, there's actually several ways. I don't remember the other ones. It's like set-a or something like that. I don't know. You can declare something as an array. Maybe it's declare-a. I don't know. Either way, we're going to make an empty array, and you do that by doing equals pren. Now note in Bash that assignment is, no spaces around equals, otherwise you get a completely different thing. And we're going to change our code a little bit here. We're actually going to get rid of this else branch, and we're going to add this argument to this array. And the way you do that is by doing args plus equals another array. And we'll maintain the quoting in here. That way we don't lose, we don't reintroduce the same bug. Again, if I didn't quote this here, and we run this, well, actually, I'll show that after, because I want to show it working first, and then we'll break it. And the way that you splat out all of the arguments or all of the elements of an array in Bash is this somewhat esoteric syntax. You do your variable name as usual, so, args is our variable name, but then you do bracket at bracket. And this is specialized syntax to, splat out all of the arguments in your array. You'll often see this in wrapper scripts, where you'll have some script, you call some script, and then foo bar baz. And this script doesn't actually interpret these, it passes them along to some other executable, and inside that script you might see something like exec, docker run something, and then quote $@. And this will take all of the arguments that were passed to the script and instead pass them to some other thing. I find this pattern pretty useful. Now there is again a common mistake that people make here, because there's $*, which works very similarly, but does completely the wrong thing here. So you almost never want $*, you almost always want $@. And you can actually, I believe, put star here, and it does, it does some other quoting thing. I don't remember specifically because I don't use $*, I use $@. But anyway, let's show that this works now. So if we do name equals Anthony space utility, you'll see that we get a single argument in Python. And again, if we pass the empty string here, it will have an empty argument, which is great. That's exactly what we wanted. And if we didn't quote this properly, which again, if you have a good linter, it should point out that this is a problem. You'll see that that one works, but this one again ends up splatting that argument. So you want to be careful to always quote variable things in Bash. But anyway, that's how you properly do conditional arguments in Bash. I hope this was useful. Oh, I actually wanted to show one other thing. So unrelated to this, but if we don't have name set, I believe we actually get an error here. Yeah. So this is set-u in play. So name was not a variable that was passed into this script here when I called it down here. And so we get an error that name is an unbound variable, which we get here. And I'll probably do another video about this at some other point. You can put this funny little symbol here, and this will default this variable, if it doesn't exist, to anything after the dash. Actually, I believe it does it for, let's see. Anyway, I'll do another video about this at some other point. Oh, that's not right. Anyway, something like that. But anyway, hopefully this was helpful. And if you guys have additional stuff you want me to explain or stuff you want me to show, feel free to leave a comment below or reach out to me on the various platforms. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.